Hello and welcome back to the NBA DFS Slate Breakdown for February 27th. It is Tuesday. We're going to be breaking it down. We got a 9-game slate on both sites. And as always, we'll get right to it. But before we do, promo codes. If you aren't a Line Star customer yet, you should at least try us out. There's a couple ways you can do it for cheap. One, we do have a 7-day free trial through either of the app stores. We also have these promo codes down there where you can get 1 month free if you're a new customer to ParlayPlay, Sleeper, Underdog, CHALKBOARD. Any of them will give you up to 1 month free. All you got to do, deposit at least $10, play through that on some of them. Some of them, all you got to do is deposit. Just follow the rules that we have listed there and fill out this fancy form we got here after you're done, so we know we need to contact one of the sites to get that data from them. Now, let's get into it. 9-gamer, as I said, both FanDuel and Draftkings have cut out the last couple of games, so then it only is 9 games, which I prefer because I don't want super huge slates. Now, let's get into it. The big news, again, is obviously Trae Young is out, and he's going to be out for the foreseeable future, and that just makes DeJounte Murray an absolute beast. He flirts with triple-doubles all the time when Trae Young is not there. Trae Young's not there. And it's just an absolutely fantastic spot. And look what he's done over the last week. A 60-burger, 49, 55, 2 down games. But overall, you know, he's just been playing super well. Without Trae Young, he gets a huge boost to fantasy scoring. So makes total sense that he is that high owned. Next, we got Mike Conley. Karl Anthony Towns is out due to personal reasons. So Conley's getting a little extra bump, and I do see that he gets a little bit of a bump. I just don't think he's going to play any more minutes, and that's my big worry there. And as we've talked about throughout the show is without him playing the extra minutes, you know, that ceiling isn't really there. I think his median projection is going to look really good, and it looks pretty good for us today, but I do worry about that ceiling. And that's really why I'm not getting to much of them at higher ownership. Kobe White's popping up a little bit. White has been not that great lately. However, this price has come down a little bit. We know he is a guy that can get us in 40s and 50s. And at this price, it does make it a little interesting. I personally am not getting too much of him. I don't think, while the Pistons matchup is better than most, because it is a pace-up spot. They aren't very good. For point guard, it's not really where I love to go versus this Pistons team. Caruso's popping up a little bit with some ownership and now some pivots that I like. Got to go with Damian Lillard. Once again, no Chris Middleton. Without Chris Middleton, he's like a mid 1.2 fantasy per minute guy. Then you get the bump up that he faces the Hornets, and it looks fairly nice here for Dame. 47 last game, 53 the game before that, has a 50 last week. We know he has, you know, that 70-point ceiling if he really gets it going, and I don't mind going there today. Kind of surprised he's not coming in a little more owned. Next, we got Ayo Dosunmu. Kid's been playing real well lately. 45 last game, 37 the game before that, 46 last week. He's been playing super good, getting an absolute ton of minutes, and I don't mind going back in this Piston spot, 6.1K. His price getting a little up there, but I still like it, still getting some with that low ownership. Next, Dennis Schroeder. Schroeder was a little chalky last night. We faded him a little bit, and glad we did. But tonight, I think I'm going to go to him quite a bit, and the reason being is that Cam Thomas is out. Dennis Schroeder with the Nets has been pretty bad, frankly. And I think part of it's just because the ball's not in his hands that much. Cam Thomas will take a lot of that usage. He takes a lot of shots. And then also with Miles Bridges there, Bridges is another guy that will take the ball in his hands a lot. Now, without Cam Thomas and Ben Simmons, but who cares about that? I think that Schroeder could go back to his 0.9 kind of fantasy point range that we're accustomed to for the year. And now I don't mind going back to him. I think the minutes are a little more secure. He played 26 last night, and we have him for 31. Without Cam Thomas, there's a lot more path to him playing that 28 to 30 range. So I am definitely considering to go there. I don't know if he plays 31, but I definitely think he's going to play at least 28. And I'm intrigued at that point. All right, on to DK, point guard, high owned. We got DeJounte Murray, Kobe White, Io. Io's looking great with salary a little bit lower over here. Kobe White has a slightly lower salary. Don't mind going there. Bogdan's getting a ton of ownership. But his price is up there where I don't think he's a slam dunk play like he generally has been without Trae Young. And getting over the matchup tool, DeJounte Murray, Damian Lillard, Dennis Schroeder, all guys we talked about. I do think Darius Garland is slightly interesting, not getting very much of him, but definitely willing to take some shots on him. Kobe White we talked about, decent matchup. Keaton George is another one that I'm fairly interested in versus Atlanta. This is just such a high-paced game and not shying away from it. Shooting guard, FanDuel, high-owned, Bogdanovich, DeJounte Murray, Klay Thompson. Those are your three high-owned. Look, Bogdan is fine. 6.6K is just up there for me. Our projection still likes him a lot. And frankly, I like him. I just don't love him at the ownership that he's going. Thus, I'm not getting to quite as much of him. He can absolutely get there. It is a good matchup. Just not getting to as much. I'm just slamming the DeJounte Murray over Bogdan play personally. Klay Thompson, 5,600 is popping up a little bit. So Klay went to the bench and had one game of huge success where he was just hot. Took 22 shots. Outside of that, he got hot a little bit last game, played 31 minutes, 15 shots. But I don't really expect him to go straight back to the starting lineup and keep chucking. I don't know if his shots are going to be there with all those other guys in the lineup. So I don't mind the play. I am getting to a little bit. I just don't absolutely love it. I'm definitely apprehensive. I liked him because I'm getting close to or around what ownership is, but don't love it. So pivots, look, we went to Quentin Grimes yesterday. He put up 31, 24 minutes and 26 minutes in his two games. I think we can lock him in for 24, and he could get upwards of 26, 28, I think. But I'm definitely intrigued with Grimes, playing super well, been 0.87 fantasy point per minute guy. And at 4,200, it makes a lot of sense to want to go there. Io, we talked about already as well. On to shooting guard on DK. Klay Thompson, Gary Payton, Kobe White. Gary Payton's just popping up because he's minimum 3K, showing 14. He's not going to end up coming in at 23% ownership. But hey, it's a dart throw. I do have to say that Chris Paul is also coming back to the Warriors. Andrew Wiggins is out, but Chris Paul is going to be back. One thing I will say is that there is at least a slight chance that Gary Payton would start over Klay Thompson, and they would keep Klay coming off the bench. There's a slight chance. I would say it's not a very big chance that happens, though. Kobe White, we went over, and on to matchups. Anthony Edwards, top in the matchups there. I thought, I should have liked him. We'll go over him next. So Anthony Edwards is a guy that I really like tonight. There's no Karl Anthony Towns. His point per minute goes from like 1.2 up to like 1.3 without Cat. So he gets a big boost up, and now he's also in a very good matchup. So definitely intrigued by Ant. Dante DiVincenzo. One of the things I have to say here is that Jalen Brunson is questionable, as well as Isaiah Hartenstein. If Brunson is out, DiVincenzo is going to get a big jump up. He's going to have the ball in his hands a lot more, be asked to shoot a lot more, and then his minutes are likely to go back up to that 38, 39 area, and he could crush there. It also makes Alec Burks look a little bit interesting. And getting over to small forward, Bogdan Bogdanovic, DeMar DeRozan, Jalen Johnson, Jaden McDaniels. Bogdan I'm fine with. DeRozan I'm absolutely fine with. 7,900 is a little too cheap for this guy. He's been in 40s, 50s for a long time. Don't mind going there. I'm definitely getting to some of him. Just not, some obscene amount of him. I like him. If he's in my lineup, I'm not taking him out. I would just leave him there. Jalen Johnson, I'm very intrigued with on this slate. It's a spot that I've been talking about a little bit. Look, Clint Capella is still limited. Okongwu is out, and then they have Bruno Fernando, who they just don't love. And with that, I could just see Jalen picking up some more minutes again. He played 39 last game, 37 the game before that, 38 the game before that. I think I don't want to say a lock for 38 minutes, but I think that's the likely outcome is 38 minutes, and in a very good matchup versus the Jazz with a high total, and should be a relatively close game. I'm extremely intrigued by going Jalen Johnson. Wish he was a little lower owned, but sometimes you just got to go with it. Jaden McDaniels next. Look, this guy's playing a lot of minutes. There's no Cat now, so maybe he gets an extra minute or two because he can play small forward and power forward. Definitely intrigued. He's cheap. He can get you, high 20s, maybe plus on top of that if he gets it going. But he's going to have to get lucky with some steals and blocks for, that 30-point performance. But he can do it. I don't mind going there. With limited, cheaper options right now, I think he is one of the ones that's more interesting. And at least he's going to be on the court giving you those opportunities to score. Danny, 6,400. He's missed the last two. He's still questionable. We're not sure if he's going to play. If he doesn't play, I definitely like Kuzma and all the Wizards a little bit more than I do right now. But Denny is somebody I'm very, very intrigued about. One of the things that we saw after the trade deadline, he started playing a ton of minutes. I think that we could put him in for 34 minutes right now. And at that, when he's, just over a fantasy point per minute in a decent matchup, he looks very, very interesting. And surprised not more people are going there. Anthony Edwards looks absolutely great. He's 9,700, but getting to, a decent amount of him. He's been playing very well. And without Cat, that just raises his floor quite a bit. And he still has that huge ceiling that he's always had. Grimes, we talked about. And then Laurie Marketing here. So 8K, I like this game a lot. As I've already shouted out a ton of these guys. But look, he's 8K, so he's cheaper than DeRozan. He's lived in the 40s and 50s over the last month. Don't mind going back to him in a very good game to exploit. So definitely going to get some market in there. And let's get over to small forward on DraftKings. DeRozan, Thompson, Payton, Kyle Anderson, Anthony Edwards. Got to talk about Kyle Anderson a little bit. He's 4,700 on DK. That's too cheap. He started last game, played 31 minutes. If he starts again, which he very well could, and gets those minutes, 4,700, just too cheap. The chance of him get 30 or 40 is high if he's starting. So definitely intrigued by some Kyle Anderson. Small forward matchups: Jaylen Brown, Lauri Markkanen, Jaden McDaniels, Herbert Jones, Klay Thompson. Herbert Jones is a little bit interesting here. My one worry is I don't know the minutes. So Zion's still questionable. McCollum is questionable. If one of those are out, he obviously gets a big bump up. But if they're all in, I still think he's a little interesting. But I worry about his minutes. We have him at 34 right now. I think you might want to be safe and, maybe lower the projection slightly to more like a 33 minutes. But he can get there a lot of different ways. I'm definitely intrigued in the matchup that he can go there. It's a spot that I wouldn't go overboard, wouldn't get too high on ownership with him, but definitely a little bit intrigued. Power forward, Taylor Hendricks, Jalen Johnson, Jaden McDaniels, all higher owned guys. Kyle Anderson's price is $1K higher on FanDuel, just not getting as much over here because of that. Jalen we talked about, Jaden we talked about, Taylor Hendricks. Look, he's still 4,100, played 26 minutes the last two games, 0.77 fantasy point per minute guy. He can absolutely get there at this price. So I don't mind going there in a good matchup. One thing is I wouldn't really want to play Hendricks and Collins together. They both need their rebounds to really do well, and I just don't think both of them are going to be able to get to that 10-plus rebound spot. Danny, we talked about Draymond Green. A bit intrigued by here. Draymond's just been playing really well. 1.08 fantasy per minute so far over his last 20 starts. 1.23 over his last 5. He's been playing really well, and now he gets a Wizards spot, which is a really good matchup for him. And Bagley on the other side is not a good defender. So definitely intrigued by a little Draymond. John Collins touched on him a little bit. He's been playing very, very well lately. My worry with Collins is I don't know if the ceiling is really there. He can absolutely get you to the 40s. But I don't know if he's going to get you a 55. He's had one game this season of that. And I really think a ceiling performance from him is more like 45. And then he's just had a few outlier, giant games of 49 or 55. But I am intrigued, definitely willing to go there, just not trying to go too overboard with him. And Draymond's kind of in the same spot where I'm not trying to go too overboard on him as well. Into power forward on DK, we got DeMar, we got Nikola Vucevic, and Kyle Anderson. I'm very much intrigued by DeMar and Vooch. I think Vooch is very, very interesting in this matchup versus Detroit, who they haven't been great versus center. He's 1.2 fantasy per minute guy. You add some pluses on top of that because it's the Detroit matchup, and it starts to look very intriguing, and he's just been playing a ton of minutes. If he gets 35 minutes, he's going to give you 40 probably. And I'm okay with the safety of that. I just don't know if I get a ceiling game out of him. That's my one worry. Matchup tool, Kuminga, Kyle Anderson, Jalen Johnson, Evan Mobley all popping up. Mobley is a bit intriguing, and I do have to say, the one thing I have to bring up about Mobley is I'm not sure his minutes. We have him at 31.8, 29 last game, 27 the game before that. Both of those, he had 4 fouls, so he could have got into some foul trouble. But then before that, he did play 34 minutes and then back down to 31. If he plays 34, I love the spot for him. If he's 29, I think he's just priced slightly too high. So he's a spot where I am intrigued. I will have a little bit, just not a ton. And let's get over to center spot. All right, Vucevic, Naz Reid, Jared Allen, the 3 high owned. I'm on Vooch. I already talked about that. Naz Reid, I think, is interesting. There is a chance that he starts at power forward over either Kyle Anderson or Jaden McDaniels. Either one of those could start at power forward. But so there is the chance that he starts. He's likely coming off the bench, but without Cat, he does probably get a couple more minutes. Wouldn't be that shocked if he got up to 26, 27 minutes, something like that. We know he crushes off the bench from time to time. He can absolutely do that again. I just don't love higher ownership on him. Draymond Green we went over. John Collins we went over like that. And I cannot believe the Rudy Gobert is not higher owned. He's like a 1.2 fantasy per minute guy without Cat on the court. So Cat's not going to be on the court. And he also has a nice spot here with against his French brother of the Spurs and Wemby, who they give up points to the center. So I like this spot for Gobert to go at Wemby and get some boards, get some points, and see what he can do. So I definitely am intrigued by some Gobert and cannot believe his ownership is not higher. On to center on DK. Vooch, Kuzma, Green. Kuzma, I'm absolutely intrigued on DraftKings. His price is lower. He has that big ceiling. It makes sense to want to go there, especially if Denny is out. Just more usage is kind of guaranteed to go his way. Matchup tool to finish this out. We got Draymond, Rudy, Clint Capella, Vooch, Bagley, all of which are interesting. What is Bagley's price on DK? 5,800. I'd be intrigued to be able to go to Bagley in this spot too, versus the Warriors. So as long as he gets playing time, his playing time has kind of been all over the place, but he can score in bunches and score quick. So don't mind going to some bags. And that'll do it, guys. Have a good one. Good luck. Let's get some takedowns here. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will be back. Have a good one, guys. Bye.